Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel.
Another week, another episode.
Wait, what did you say?
An innocent in a spell of evil.
You can't destroy me, Michelle. Nothing can.
Seduced by a vampire.
We together now until the end of time.
Who will stop at nothing.
You must learn to survive.
To possess.
You promised you would teach me everything.
His prey.
Reach out with your senses.
Body. And soul.
Take him.
They're vampires, Mel. Vampires we're in.
Now, to save her sister.
You're so cold. You're dead.
A woman will enter a world beyond her worst nightmares.
Let there be a bloodbath.
Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another horror movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Subspecies 3, Bloodlust. Presented by Charles Band from Full Moon Direct and directed by Ted Nicolo. I probably just butchered his name. Still in the thrall of the evil vampire Radu, Michelle yearns to be taught the skills of the vampire. Meanwhile, her sister Becky tries to free her from his evil clutches, and this time she's brought some help.
There is no love between the living and the dead.
Bloodlust. Subspecies 3. The terror continues this Halloween.
Came out back in 1994, and I did videos talking about the first two Subspecies films, so I was eager to talk about the third one here, which I had heard a good amount about. I have the Blu-ray here, and I gotta say I'm fairly pleased with this movie. Watching the first one, I was desperate enough to watch it. I watched it on YouTube. But since then, I've grown, I think, a sort of fondness for these films, and the Radu character played by Anders Hove, because yeah, these films are low budget. They'll probably, some of the acting isn't the greatest, I know that. Some of the dialogue will come across as cheesy, or mixed with the certain lackluster deliveries here and there. But really, at the center of this, I think there's a lot to appreciate about this series. And I still have the spin-off to watch, and then the final fourth film. But I'm very pleased with the first three, because honestly, it has like a good sort of classic old horror type of vibe to it that I really like. It's mostly practical effects in terms of the blood and everything like that. There's some CG with some of Radu's minions and everything, but besides that, it's mostly practical. And especially in the second one and this third one, as well as the first one a bit, there's actually some decent like atmosphere, you know, and gloominess, and you know, some decent shots, you know, to create at least a good horror mood that feels sort of gloomy and empty and stuff like that. I really like. And Radu himself, again played by Anders Hove, he does a really good job actually. I always appreciate when I see horror films like this that just sort of just when there's even original horror characters created like this. Yeah, you know, Dracula obviously, and different vampires throughout, but Radu separates himself, you know. He has his own sort of backstory and character, and Anders Hove just really does a good job of bringing that to life with all his mannerisms, which are sometimes a bit over the top, maybe a bit dragged out in spots, but really I think he's a standout sort of under the radar horror character that I really appreciate and enjoy. And they did actually some pretty interesting stuff with his character in this one, because now we have Michelle, who I've gotten to like more and more over the series actually. I'm still kind of mixed on the other actors besides her and Anders Hove. But Denice Duff in this one and the second one, they both do a really good job. And Denice Duff, she does a really good job in this with dealing with her more vampiric side and the more honest, conflicting nature of it. You know, it's not it's not like a bright light story or anything like that. There's a lot of, you know, giving into this here and there, and some actual, you know, conflicting scenarios that actually play a little bit further onto one side of it than you might expect. Because she is still trapped with Radu and his mother, and that makes for a really good dynamic here, because we've seen a little bit of this in the second film. Radu, he has some sort of attachment to her. You know, his love that he just, you know, sinisterly wants to, you know, be with for all time. But at the same time, you weirdly sort of feel that he has some genuine, or well, genuine in his way, sort of attachment to her, and I don't know if I should say, you know, care to spend the rest of his life with her, but you know, he doesn't want her to simply just be destroyed or used in a certain way. So much so that he actually stands against his mother in this film, which I actually found to be pretty good, and I enjoyed how that played out. And besides that, her and Radu shared actually a pretty nice scene just before the sun comes up, where you know, she just asks Radu questions about their weaknesses, what the sun actually does, and Radu also actually talks to her about the loneliness she's feeling and the despair and stuff for a second. You know, as you know, actually, like, he can relate to it, or she understands, you know, where her perspective was. Maybe he did at one point in his life, who knows. And actually some fairly genuinely good acting in that scene that I was surprised by. And I was so glad they sort of built on that, at least a somewhat extra layer to Radu that was kind of hinted at in the second film, and I really love that part of this movie. But besides that, you know, there was some weaknesses with it. The stuff with her sister, you know, Becky, and you know, the guy from the second film, I don't remember his name right now. He, fairly likable actor, but her and him, and you know, their whole like detective work into the thing and trying to find out where Michelle was and following them around and stuff, it took away from it a little bit. Luckily, they didn't take up a whole lot of screen time, but their scenes were scattered throughout, so a lot of times they'd break up the Radu and Michelle stuff. So that tugged it down a bit for me. And the ending was actually almost fairly good. I was a bit annoyed with how it actually ended up playing out in the last few minutes. But they definitely played with the dynamic there that I liked again. It felt a little bit redundant by the final scene, though, and I'm hoping they give the whole series a more original ending in the fourth film, Bloodstorm. We'll see. But still, I was fairly impressed by this film, and it's probably the best film of the series that I've seen so far. I didn't make a graphic for the rating yet because I've still been deciding, but overall, I'd honestly give this film probably a BB+. I liked it that much personally, And I think these films are definitely worth checking out, so please check them out if you haven't. They're worth a look if you're a fan of sort of more old school, lower budget, yes, but decent horror with actually a memorable, you know, villain at the center. And yeah, he's evil, he's very sinister looking, and you know, the makeup in the second and third film is a little bit better than the first as well, which I commented on in the second. But yeah, you know, he's evil, he's sinister, but at the same time, this movie really at least pushed him enough past a point where he's not a complete caricature anymore. They added enough to him to make him feel like a character, not just like the monster of the film, you know. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this movie or the others. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.